Greetings to everyone in the ML21 TV studio area audience. My name is Perry Hamilton, and I'm the General Manager of the Dad Vail Regatta. And with me today is Jim Hanna, who's the President of the Dad Vail Regatta Organizing Committee, and that is the committee that actually stages the Dad Vail Regatta. Good morning, Jim. How are we doing?
Good morning, Perry. Thanks for the introduction. We sure appreciate ML21 TV Studios helping us publicize the annual Dad Vail Regatta. I want to begin today by thanking all of our first responders, our healthcare professionals, the paramedics, the police, and the firemen for putting their life on the line. Having served as a war veteran, I know what it's like to take that risk on, and I'm especially appreciative. We are especially appreciative of their courage. Hey, we also want to thank, we always have an attitude of gratitude. We want to thank our 300 volunteers, and we want to thank our board of directors who serve without pay and work 9 months of the year to stage the Jefferson Dad Vail Regatta. We have a very selfless board, and we have a terrific number of sponsors. We're the Jefferson Dad Vail Regatta. Jefferson is our title sponsor, Jefferson University. We also have PICO and Coke and Independence Blue Cross, who are presenting sponsors. We appreciate everything the city does to enable us to stage this regatta, and all the people who help us with Fairmont Park. This particular regatta, people wait, and the boys and girls cross the days off their calendar. This is the largest collegiate regatta in North America. It tracks over 100 schools, over 3,000 competitors, and the kids literally cross the days off their calendar, just like kids do before Christmas, waiting for this event. It's the largest collegiate regatta in North America, as we mentioned, and we were going to have our 82nd event this year. It's first started in 1934, and if you do the mathematics, you find there's 4 years missing. Those were the war years, 43, 1944, 45, and 46. The regatta was not staged. So this year, we're at war with this pandemic, and we're not staging the regatta as it would have been scheduled, Friday and Saturday of this particular week. But apropos the regatta, we should let you know it's far more than just a rowing regatta. We have a art poster contest for people who are gifted, especially with respect to their art creative talent. We have a commitment to support inner city rowing. We have a big commitment also now to support corporate competition and alumni rowing. With alumni rowing, someone can come and row in the Jefferson Dad Vail Regatta for life. And we have a big commitment now to para-rowing or adaptive rowing, which just began 3 years ago. So this regatta, as we say, it's far more than a regatta. Everybody here is committed to giving back because of their own very rich and enduring experience being involved with rowing. Now, we say we're on the gold standard. We give away gold medals for winners, and the gold medal is a treasured keepsake for all of those winners. We have a way of celebrating the gold standard. For example, we give a gold jacket as an award to a volunteer who serves 10 years or more. Hence the reason for this gold jacket, which I have had the privilege of wearing this morning. We give gold cufflinks to people who serve 30 years. So we have a way of rewarding our volunteers. We say the currency of the realm is really credit. Credit's the currency of the realm. If anything goes wrong, I take responsibility as president. Perry Hamilton does a splendid job as general manager and supports us every day, 7 days a week, year round. So he's a very, very committed professional. But apropos our gold standard, one of the best stories I can tell you about the Dad Vail, the Jefferson Dad Vail Regatta, is people come back after they graduate. We have a way of celebrating on an ongoing basis Dad Vail Champions. We celebrate the 25th anniversary year Dad Vail Champions. And this year, for women, it would have been Wisconsin. And for men, it would have been Temple. The 50th year anniversary crew this year would have been St. Joe's University. Those crews, although we're not having the regatta this year, they will be honored at next year's regatta, along with the 50th anniversary crew for next year's regatta, as will the 25th anniversary crews. But one of the best stories we can tell you is about a crew from Marietta celebrating a 50th anniversary. The grandfather had brought his children and grandchildren, and he stood up at the podium and received recognition along with 7 members of his crew who were still living. And he said that probably the most significant event in his life was winning a Dad Vail gold medal. So the Jefferson Dad Vail means everything to an awful lot of people. We're fortunate to be able to stage it right here in Philadelphia on the National Race Course. And this race course has special appeal right here in Fairmount Park. Not only is Fairmount Park an epicenter with Boathouse Row for rowing in the United States, but it's one of the reasons I came to live in Philadelphia after rowing in the Dad Vail myself and realizing what a wonderful place it would be to live my life and be able to row for life on the Schuylkill River. I decided to relocate and married and have lived here for over 50 years. It's been a great place to raise 4 children and now have 4 grandchildren. But apropos, our quest, we're all about staging the very best regatta experience kids can enjoy in their collegiate career. And we produce Olympians as well. So Dad Vail has a storied history of giving back and making sure we do far more than just produce this regatta. The great thing about the venue is people, spectators, first of all, can come to the regatta for free. There's no charge. It's an annual rite of passage for Philadelphia, really. We're a jewel in the crown of Philadelphia. We've been here since 1952. Now, this regatta started by a famous coach by the name of Rusty Callow. He coached the University of Pennsylvania and said there needs to be a regatta for small fledgling crew programs. University of Pennsylvania, Harvard, Yale, they can afford big dollars for large programs, but some of the smaller schools back in 1934 were struggling. So Rusty Callow started this regatta and with his friend Lev Brett decided to name it after a very famous coach at Wisconsin by the name of Harry Emerson Vail. Now, Harry Emerson Vail had attended Harvard, and he actually coached there for a few years. He ended up coaching at the University of Wisconsin, and then for 10 years, rowing was suspended because they decided that the exertion that caused an enlarged heart could be harmful to someone's health. After waiting 10 years, that particular predicament passed, and they realized rowing was exceptionally healthy for people, and it became a sport. Today, it's a very popular sport for women and men. Over 50% of the participants at the Jefferson Dad Vail are women. But back to the race course itself. And remember, it's free for the public. People can sit right on the seawall and see the beads of sweat rolling off the rowers' foreheads as they come down the race course. Lane 1 is right adjacent to the seawall, and people can be up close and watching the exertions of those rowers and hear the coxswains calling out the stroke rates. Now, Perry, I want to make sure we cover everything that we can about the regatta. As far as the postponement for this year, it's always been our hope or dream that we could have something to offer to the crews, and we will do everything in our power to make sure that if we have any sort of opening, that we can do something in the way of staging a Jefferson event. We're fortunate to have such a great cadre and such a storied history, and we want to keep up that momentum. But apropos being especially appreciative, we need to thank all the Boathouse Row collaboration work that is done. Right now, the river's preparing to undergo dredging. That's a collaborative effort of the Schuylkill Navy. That's all the boat clubs on Boathouse Row. They also host visiting crews So we really roll out the Philadelphia welcome mat for anyone who comes to our regatta. Now, normally it's all day Friday, all day Saturday. Races start at 7 in the morning, go to 5 at night. Frequently, we have issues regarding the actual schedule, but to run races and have them start like Swiss clockwork requires a really coordinated team effort. Occasionally, weather will interfere. Sometimes we have to change the schedule. Sometimes it's accelerated. But our goal is to make sure every single rower that travels to Philadelphia, and remember, people come from as far north as Toronto, Canada, as far south as Tallahassee, Florida, as far west as San Francisco, California. This is a very, very important event for people to travel that distance. Now, apropos awards, we award first, second, and third place for a whole different raft of events. We have events for 8-oared boats, 4-oared boats, doubles, pairs, and singles as well. We were the first regatta in the United States to encourage collegiate single competition. And the reason was we had a famous coach right on the Schuylkill River, Jim Barker, who coached at Undine. He said to us back in the year 2010, we're not winning enough gold medals sculling. The Dad Vail Regatta should start a sculling event. And we said to Jim Barker, we'd be happy to, Jim, but right now we have a full 2 days. We'll agree to start it, but if we have to expand the regatta to a third day, we need to ask you to please supply some volunteers. Jim readily agreed. And now we have had sculling at the regatta since year 2010. And we're watching the Olympics very closely to see if the fact that the Dad Vail Regatta, the Jefferson Dad Vail Regatta, was the first collegiate regatta to encourage sculling. We're watching to see what can we do about gold medals at the Olympics. We'll find out next summer. As everyone knows, the Olympics planned for this summer were postponed to next year. So we've got one more year to train our scullers and to hopefully bring home gold medal to the United States with respect to at the Olympic level. Now, Perry, what are we leaving out?
One of the things we're leaving out, I think, is the value of the Dad Vail Regatta to the city of Philadelphia and the Philadelphia region. And as it turns out, I think you yourself, Jim, exemplify this. That is to say, we bring elite rowing athletes to our fabled Fairmount Park Schuylkill River Racecourse. And many of these athletes are on to graduate school and on to the professions that are so important and valuable to the city of Philadelphia. Many of these people become lawyers, doctors, and chieftains of various industries that are important in Philadelphia. I was wondering if you could speak to that a little bit of our value to this region.
Oh, well, thank you for bringing that up, Perry. There's no question we bring value. When we had to cancel the regatta this year, the coach of Purdue called and said, Jim, you know how many thousands of dollars I have on deposit with the hotel? We make our reservations for the following year before we leave, after we conclude a regatta each year. So there's no question in terms of the economic impact, it's substantial, not just for the regatta itself, but in an enduring way. As I mentioned, I'm a walking, talking, living example of someone who came to row at the Dad Vail Regatta years ago, before it became the Jefferson Dad Vail Regatta, and decided to stay and make a living in the profession of public accounting right here in Philadelphia. So there's no question we have not just a value for the moment of a regatta with respect to rooms, room reservations, restaurant meals, just travel and leisure, because we need to remember that these competitors, numbering 3,000, are only part of the head count at the regatta. We attract typically over 30,000 spectators, so that translates into additional room nights, additional leisure activities, such as visiting the Philadelphia Museum of Art, the zoo, and taking advantage of all of the cultural opportunities and restaurant opportunities that exist in Philadelphia. So we're fortunate to bring so much value. It's something we take great pride in. Yet we serve as we're a nonprofit organization. I've never taken a penny from the regatta, neither have any of the board members and nor the volunteers. So it's a labor of love, and we're all about giving back and making sure we can be the best version of a regatta that kids can experience during their collegiate career.
Another thing I would like, Jim, for you to expand on is the Dad Vail Regatta offers what's called a corporate challenge. And I think rowing is unique in being valuable to corporate management teams. And we offer this corporate challenge, part and parcel of that value. I was wondering if you could expand on our corporate challenge event.
Well, we sure can, Perry. That gets back to the values. One thing about the Jefferson Dad Vail Regatta, people find it's a constant. They know, unlike so many other walks of life, they can work very, very hard and achieve success. They have to follow the rules, or there's consequences. But apropos training, even at a high school level, we begin to inculcate values that extend far beyond the sport, any athletic sport that you might find. We used to tell the youngsters as we coach that you really have 5 things to think about in life. You have your family, you have your faith, you have your studies, you have rowing. Your social life comes a distant 5th. So the youngster learned that if they wanted to be a rower, they really had to buy into those values of their family comes first, then their faith, then their studies, then rowing, and finally social life. When we tested youngsters some years back regarding the average cum, the average cumulative average was in excess of 3.0 for the rowers that came to the Jefferson Dad Vail Regatta. So kids have very little time, if you're a rower, to do anything but focus on your studies and the discipline of the sport. So those values carry on, and people who've rowed in the past frequently are interested in entering our corporate competition. Our corporate competition is open to local corporations, and we say rather than talk at the water cooler about your competition, come out and face them right on the water. And as a result, we have many local corporations that come out to race. Not everyone who was in the boat has rowed before. We require that there can be no more in an 8-oared shell, which is the standard for racing. You have 8 rowers and 1 coxswain. Among the rowers, you can't have more than 5 of one gender. So there has to be a mix regarding women and men. And we have different classifications. Some who rowed and we know are very competitive. They come out of a rowing background. They compete in a completely different race than the novices who are just getting on the water for the very first season. So even city council from the city of Philadelphia entered the regatta last year. They put a boat together and said it was a transformative experience to leave City Hall, go out and train on the river with the geese, and enjoy the tranquility of being out, enjoying a little bit of nature during their training.
That segues a little bit into something else I wanted to see if you could expand on. The Schuylkill River is a national grade race course, and at the same time, it's in the middle of one of the most beautiful urban parks in the world. And the beauty of Fairmount Park, in my opinion, this is personally, I think is a use it or lose it. We either use that park and use it correctly, use it well, or honestly, we'll lose the very beauty that is there. I was wondering if you could expand on our contribution to Fairmount Park and the venue itself and the actual national race course.
Well, we should say in terms of the dredging, the rowing community itself quite an expense. In the past, it was subsidized by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. When it came time to dredge during this cycle, the determination was made that it's not a commercial waterway, and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has to concentrate their funding for commercial waterways. Hence, money had to be raised through other sources. The rowing community itself in Philadelphia, Boathouse Row and the different regattas, and some generally very generous philanthropists contributed over $500,000, over $500,000 in private donations for dredging the river. Now, the total cost we expect will be in the range of $5 million. The city was very, very generous. The local colleges were very, very generous. Drexel was a first mover to make a commitment to contribute, but all of the local colleges contributed to this endeavor to dredge. And I think that exemplifies the commitment the rowing community has to Fairmont Park, which is, I understand, is the largest park anywhere in the world located within a city. So you're right, Perry. We're fortunate to have such a resource so accessible to Philadelphians personally. It's a wonderful tribute that has been maintained so well. And you know, the history is fascinating. Back in the mid 19th century, Harrisburg enacted enabling legislation for the park to be formed and formed a commission to actually operate the park, which was completely separate from the city. And the thinking at that point was preserve the integrity of the park so the city doesn't simply provide land for additional buildings, homes, and apartment houses. That Fairmont Park Commission existed well up until the mid 2008. During the general election, a decision was made to have a referendum and ask the citizens of Philadelphia, should Fairmont Park be consolidated with the city? The Fairmont Park Commission now no longer exists, and the city manages the park itself. As a park user, we would say the transition has been seamless. The park is maintained every bit as well as it was under the aegis of the Fairmont Park Commission, and we're fortunate to have the city manage the park system, the Fairmont Park system, so well and make it so adequate to accommodate racing on that national race course on the Schuylkill River.
So now, speaking of that as well, many people in this viewing area watching you today and me might be asking, how could I personally be an observer, be a spectator at the sport? I know the river road is closed. How do I get there?
Well, it's interesting. Usually the week of the Jefferson Dad Vail Regatta, there is a great deal of publicity and information that's publicized regarding access to the regatta itself. And maps are provided, transportation links are provided via SEPTA, public transportation. Of course, those who live close by can walk right onto the premises, and those who live some distance away can drive and park remotely and take a shuttle bus down to the regatta. So it's been a process that's been rehearsed, fortunately, and staged for many, many years. We're lucky to have the continuity of our volunteers to make sure that everything runs like clockwork. After each regatta, typically we convene all the volunteers and we talk about, usually it's over a Dad Vail Pale Ale. We have our own beer now and our own private beer garden, so we can control the drinking. All the collegians are welcome to go to our beer tent to buy a beer. And right now, each year, we have a first pour to test that beer. And it's usually staged at Winnie's restaurant, who's been a great supporter of our regatta. We should let you know that Urban Village is the one that actually provides our Dad Vail Pale Ale. But over that Dad Vail Pale Ale, we discuss the lessons learned after each regatta, and we say, what could we have done better? And what do we want to do next year? It might be that there was a tent stake that should be repositioned to avoid it being a tripping hazard, or it might be a way of giving better accommodations to our adaptive rowers, or it might be an opportunity to give recognition to some special volunteer who's well deserving. But that lessons learned meeting serves as a refresher, and the notes are brought out in March each year when we convene all of our volunteers to prepare to stage the next regatta. And we say, remember our lessons learned meeting following last year's regatta, here are the different bullet points we want to address. So we're about a constant, it's all about constant improvement. Perry, thank you for reminding me.
A little bit of time left. I just have to ask you, we've already scheduled for 2021. That'll be May 7th, May 8th. Is there any chance at all that we could have any Dad Vail Regatta within the year 2020?
Well, we never like to create false expectation, but our Dad Vail board meets every month, and we're exploring all avenues and the opportunity of planning some sort of competition. And again, we don't want to hold out false hope and then have to dash people's expectations. But we're all about getting the job done. So thanks for asking. It's a great way to begin to wind down and let people know, we're passionate about our commitment and our mission statement. And the greatest enjoyment I derive from the regatta is the camaraderie with the other volunteers.
Well, Jim, thank you. And I would like to thank all of the people of MLTV who have hosted us and are enabling this to be cablecast throughout our neighborhoods and main line. And we look forward to a future in which we can once again have our normal, vigorous, enthusiastic Dad Vail Regatta, where we can have competition among some of the finest elite athletes that the colleges across North America can produce, and the spirit that goes with it. Jim, thank you very much. MLTV, thank you very much. And I thank all of you viewers for tuning in. And this is Perry Hamilton with Jim Hanna, wishing you all healthy, safe, and enjoyable time.